Okay, so hello everyone. Uh, I'm glad to invite you and have you all on board for this interesting session that I and Sachin are going to do today on corporate wellness. We have been focusing on therapists, we have been focusing on one-to-one clients, we have been focusing on self-help. Now we move our focus to something which is in demand to an extent, maybe not in the way we would like it to be, but still people are talking about it, but not too many people seem to have clarity about it. Mental health, emotional health in workspace setting. So before I go ahead, we have Sachin with us. Sachin heads Connect Hut. He has been a dear friend for a long time, and we have had these conversations frequently on YouTube, on different platforms. So, Sachin, if you could just introduce yourself first.
Sure, certainly. My name is Sachin Chitambaran. I've been working in the space of mental health and crisis intervention for over 15 years. Predominantly, my experience comes in currently, I'm running a social enterprise which focuses on making mental health simple and accessible, where we work with multiple organizations, even as an EAP service provider, which I think becomes a bit more relevant as to why I can or should even speak in this context. And also how we have been working a lot in understanding crisis situations that build up in different settings and how that results in one of the worst things that can happen extreme mental health scenarios, which is even suicides. So understanding as to why that is, why having mental health as a important factor to consider while at work becomes such a relevant conversation. So I'm hoping that with Nitin today we will be open to putting some light on that space.
Super. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Nitin Shah. I am the CEO of ICHARS, Meet Goals. Coincidentally, Meet Goals has just launched its mobile app 3 or 4 days back. We are going to move into corporate wellness space. Actually, we already are in that space now. We are already talking to organizations. We plan to offer a combination of training programs, mobile app, and one-to-one coaching therapy consultations as and when required. But more about meat goals in the coming videos because Misbah Karthik are planning to do a complete set of introduction videos on that. So we will share more details about that. But for now, let's get started with emotional health at workplace. So Sachin, let me begin by asking you this question. Um, when we say sustainable mental health at work, what does that really mean in practical terms? And I'll add one line to this, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because from time to time we at times get inquiries of people saying that we would like to do a training program where you can come and you can conduct a workshop which will help people manage their thoughts, their emotions. But eventually, when you speak to them, you realize that even in the head of the HR, the idea of a training program is simply we want to take them out, we want to give them drinks so that they can drink, they can
और
enjoy.
थोड़े अच्छे आइस ब्रेकर्स कराना
थोड़ा अच्छा आइस ब्रेकर्स कराना
तो
and
मजा आना चाहिए
correct and 1.5 hours में we want
एवरीथिंग.
because उसके अलावा तो we want to party. So this is what the mental makeup of a mental and emotional wellness training program looks like. Okay? So what sustainable mental health means at work, according to you.
So it's a very very loaded question, right? And especially uh, in the current market, how the current culture is around understanding mental health. What is, I think it is predominantly coming in because we are taking it as a external concept. Is my voice getting disturbed?
No, I think it's good. Seems to work fine.
Okay, some disturbance happening either from your side, I think. In the feedback. Okay, now it's gone. Perfect. So one of the okay, so just to attack the question itself, what does sustainable mental health look like? It involves having a culture from top to bottom across the hierarchy of the organization, where more than just profit or ROI becomes the target. Instead of just the return on investment becoming the target, uh, a corporate culture where employees are able to feel part of the system and are comfortable. I'm just seeing, is Nitin there? Oh, yes. I was just for a second. Yes. Sorry. So, sustainable mental health is where it's not just looked at, mental health is not looked at as something that you do by giving people a bit of a dopamine pleasure rush. But then understanding what mental health means, it means tackling the tough questions on how can employee well-being be considered and helped by the organization, and that the actions that are placed, the way people are interacting with each other, are helping create a supportive system rather than a competitive or in India, while I was working in the corporate, this used to be the term, right? Politics. There is a lot of politics in the system. So instead of that being the case where you have to keep your eye, watch out for anything happening to you career wise, a culture where we are able to look at our colleagues as people who I can work with, support, nurture, and grow together. So I think that would be a simplistic answer, which I'm hoping that we can expand on later.
Um, so I'll actually put it this way, right? So
Yes,
if
please.
when I look at mental health in corporate setup, I see it as a combination of things. There are things that corporates can do, and then there are things that corporates can't do. And we need to kind of account for both when it comes to helping people with their mental and emotional health. So one would be that yes, corporates should design their policies, should design their culture, should design their environment in a way in which people say feel safe, they feel comfortable, they don't experience burnout. If they're experiencing burnout, there's someone that they can go to, talk to, they can uh, see if their workload can be managed accordingly. So those are things that corporates can do. And then the fact is, no matter how much the corporate does what they want to do or what they can do, there will always be factors that not all corporates can control. Sachin, you mentioned about politics, right? Corporates can create policies, but the policymakers eventually themselves are human. The one at the top of the organization may not always know everything that's happening below, or by the time they figure out, it can already be late.
Right.
So, in situations where corporates have done what they can, but there is a human factor involved, they also need to be able to train their employees to manage the rest of the things. When I say
Right.
manage, means if there is office politics, one, what is the culture, what is the policy framework for the corporate to ensure that this can be discouraged? Second, has the corporate been able to train the employees in a way in which they feel safe, they feel comfortable to go and talk to the corporate, address or raise their grievances? And finally, also because once you raise a grievance, while we live in an instant coffee world, it's not a world where grievances can be resolved in 1 minute or 1 hour, right? There may still be a set of steps that need to be taken. So as an employee, I also need to be trained in how do I manage myself during that period?
Right.
How do I ensure that my thoughts, my emotions, my beliefs, my insecurities don't interfere with the process that the corporate has set up.
True.
So for me, a sustainable mental health would include both the work that corporate needs to do within their own setup and the training that they need to provide to the employees so that they are also mentally equipped to address any challenges that come their way. And in
Fair.
order to provide that training, there could be trainings, there could be therapy sessions, there could be um, mobile apps. I'm sure there are other options available that corporates can further consider.
See, but this is where the challenge is, right? Like I hear that, right? And this is why I said that my answer is more as a very, very generic entry point as to then we can open up that space as to why, what all these things, because a culture cannot come in without these active trainings coming in. But I think maybe a different way to define the sustainable mental health would be to move mental health from a tick in the box activity to look at mental health as in the more strategic point of view. Now, I think that would probably make it a bit more connecting to the question itself. What does sustainable mental health look like? It doesn't look like a random icebreaker or exciting or motivational speaker coming in and telling you how good it is to, work like crazy. But rather than high excitement purposes, focusing on what is it that would actually help the mental health of my employees, having a thought over it, reflecting as an organization based on what are my procedures, what are my policies, which of these may be actually hampering in or helping, which of these procedures could be high would lead to high burnout, which of these processes are quite monotonous and may require some work, especially involved this doesn't get overdone. So having this kind of a thoughtful reflection over what the processes, procedures, policies are, and then designing it in a way that is employee friendly and employee mental health friendly, right? That is, I think, at the base. Because otherwise, what you have is a poster that is there put up by the HR that says it is okay to be not okay. But when the employee calls in to say, I'm having a poor mental health day, I am actually struggling today, and I may need a break, and the manager shouts down upon the employee, or, so it is not about the tick in the box activities of putting the poster, but going beyond, and does it actually get applied? So that's the path we have to walk, but we seem to be quite far from it.
Yeah, like I said, we have had people telling us कि देखो आखिरी में we want to give them boost, right? Their mental health is managed, their stress is managed by that. We want you to, because we have a activity, we have a budget, so we want you to come and do that 1 hour, 2 hour session so that we can tick the box. That by itself becomes the biggest challenge in looking at mental health in a workspace from a sustainable point of view. What you mentioned earlier, Sachin, about um, thinking of at looking at it from a more strategic point of view, right? I think that's the key. That as an organization, the moment you start looking at mental health from a point of view strategy and not a point of view of a task, then the entire way you design things, you approach things, the kind of people that you will reach out to, the kind of programs that you will incorporate and implement in your organizations will begin to change dramatically.
Exactly.
I think
And
that makes sense.
and because it's important for us to understand that if I actively work on employee mental health in a strategic fashion, there is actual benefits to be gained, right? This is why I do also feel like when we have quite some of our legacy organizations like your Tatas and stuff, very often I do speak with different corporates, different employees as well. You will see what is the type of satisfaction and stuff that they feel. Now it's not just simply having a happiness survey done in a where the HR guy is sitting behind you seeing what you're taking in and then project. So this move that how we should look as to what is actually happening in the organization. So these are the some of the areas I feel even corporate CEOs, they should start paying active attention in. Where if we don't take mental health seriously, I mean, I'm asking us, can we look into these areas where these researches are available? I mean, they do multi personality tests and different such tests to check whether the person is qualified to work as a salesperson or not. But similarly, there are so many tests available that just helps in identifying the stress levels that the employees are going through, and there could be so many things that can be done. Now, instead of simply opening up a gym area in the organization and making yourself sound cool as if you're giving access, but then anyone who's seen spending time playing table tennis is then looked down upon, made fun of. If there are those taunts made, then you're actually not supporting that kind of an atmosphere.
Plus, also when you are giving those services or those options, have proper policy in place, because I do understand there are times where employees also go overboard.
Of course.
That because we have a table tennis table in the office, we can every day come to the office to play table tennis. That's not the objective of the office. So, and as long as this is vague, that you can play table tennis whenever you feel like, or you can take a break whenever you feel like, then you have a problem. So at least have certain guidelines in place in terms of how much time during the day is acceptable from a organization point of view. Because I do understand as an organization, you also have to look at not just the one employee, but you want to look at what culture it sets for every other employee.
So
Right?
this is where another conversation comes into play, right? Where because of treating everyone equally. So what that means is that everyone is supposed to be sitting in front of the laptop, or you have to be giving your so much time to the organization. But for some people, if work may be, let's say, some people, for example, neurodivergent people, it was not probably easy. Like for me, it was, I would never be able to sit at my workspace for more than half an hour. I just can't do that. So I will move around, I will do something, and I have to make sure that I don't look like I'm wasting my time. But the way I operate is okay, 5 minutes of hyper focus, but then I need to move away from that.
Correct. So, Sachin, the thing is, when I say there have to be criteria, the criteria can be decided by the companies based on the kind of employee profiles they have, right? The criteria could simply be based on KPIs and whatever end results they have to offer. It may not necessarily be about the amount of time you sit on a chair.
Yes.
At the same time, those criteria still need to be defined because I can tell you from an organization point of view, we've had people. So generally, organizations don't really allow people to do parallelly work, right? If you're working in one organization, they would not let
Right.
you take up freelance jobs and all of that. So we had an employee who actually told us that Nitin, I'm. They were working from home, they were given certain tasks, they were completing those tasks, and then one day we were having a conversation, and the person said that Nitin, I also want to explore this particular thing. Can I take up a side work along with it? I will continue doing the work that you want me to do. He said, fair enough, as long as you complete the task, you're working from home. Every day you have to report once to let me know what you have completed. So that's good enough. Uh, After 3 4 months, 3 months, we started noticing a dip in the person's performance. There were mistakes that were being made which were not acceptable, right? So then eventually I sat with the person and I told the person that this is the problem, this is the work that you have been assigned. If I have to cross check every work that you are doing, which takes me more time than the amount of time it will take me to do the work, this doesn't work for us, right? So you have to tell me where things are going wrong. We are happy to help you, but you have to then tell us where you want things to be
No,
improved.
no, true, true.
And what
So,
I was told, and what I
yeah,
was told, Sachin, was the most interesting thing. I was told, Nitin, I'm experiencing burnout and therefore I'm having problems. And I'm like, wait, you're experiencing burnout because of work that you're doing for ICHARS? Because that doesn't seem to be done. At least the task is in front of me tells me that 60% of your work is pending. So, experiencing burnout because of ICHAR's work, and the person says, no, no, I'm also doing other things now. You know that. I'm like, wait, excuse me. You are allowed to do other things subject to you completing the work that you're doing with ICHARs, right? And then it's your responsibility to manage your burnout. We are not forcing you into doing something extra. In fact, if anything, your workload is coming down because of a lot of tools and software that we are using. And that when I heard that, I did not know how to respond to this now. So what I'm saying is it's not necessarily about time. The the guidelines can be set up in multiple ways, but both the organization and the employees, they need to understand that you may need specific strategies that work for you, but that cannot be a justification for getting involved in activities that are also counterproductive for the organization.
right.
And for me, mental health also would mean helping employees understand this. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, no, completely. And see, that's the thing, right? Because most of the organization, this is what I'm observing, because mental health is such a new concept, and not just for the organization, but for the employees as well. We are now discovering what does remote working even mean. Our thought processes or our understanding of what remote working is also changing on a daily basis. Like at first it felt like a boon, then it felt like an isolation pod, then it felt like a opportunity, and then you are able to realize, oh, I understand why people say you have to go outside to work, because at home to keep yourself motivated to work is kind of difficult. So is burnout happening because of work or because of access to rest? So and still having to kind of push yourself. There is no privacy. Work at home, anyone and everyone has access to you, so you're not even able to work, but you can. It's a very common challenge I actually myself experience. But this is exactly the part that I'm considering, where if your focus, if as an organization, our focus cannot be just on what our company's goals are, right? Like the ROI or the returns that we are looking for, or whatever is the objective goals that we are seeking from. We have to be able to see what are the employees that who are going to work or help me or my organization achieve those goals. I have to consider them as a resource and how to help them manage themselves as well in these places, with the different methodologies that are popping up every day, with the different ways we are engaging with ourselves. So connecting with the employees at, I don't know, whichever levels, like the is so much important, because the culture also doesn't happen by its own. If there is disconnection between the I'm not saying that is what is happening with ICHARs, but with most of the organization, this is where you're trying to do either one thing or the other, but you're doing it and you kind of switch off from there. Oh, I've done the policy and I switch off from mental health. No, this is going to be an ongoing activity, and this has to be taken into uh, um, that importantly, because if it is not, then what is happening? We are having to only look at turnover and getting a new person to kind of get them up to speed, and them going through this thing. Now we will come up with a new rule that, okay, while you are employed here, you cannot take another job, but this person may have been in a better position to kind of be able to manage those things, but is not getting the opportunity, so we are having a fight with them specifically for another
But
reason.
Sachin, that's exactly the point. See, right? So that's what I'm saying. Now, so I've had this conversation with people multiple times where we have with this idea of, can I parallelly work in two organizations if I'm completing my assignment and if I'm giving my work to people, right? See, this is where the problem comes, because at one level, I'm saying I want to work less because I want to manage my work burden. So I want to go from a 6 day week to a 5 day week to a 4 day week. So if your objective of a 4 day week is that I want to manage my workload, and then you're going to say, but the 2 days that I'm getting off, now that I'm getting off, I'll work something else. Then where is the workload of? So as an organization, see, eventually, and I, because both I'm into designing these interventions for the corporates, working with employees, and also because we take one-to-one sessions extensively with corporate clients. This is a dilemma that I have seen most corporates and clients both face.
Yeah,
They forget why they are asking for what they're asking for in the first place,
exactly.
right? So so I've had this conversation where one of my client comes and tells me that the world is going to a 5 day a week, 4 day a week. My company still wants to stick to 6 days. They had this conversation, everything. Eventually, the company gave and the company moved to 5 days a week. Okay? Now the complaint I hear later is, I I'm working 5 days, right? My job is 5 days a week. I'm working for 5 days. अब सैटरडे संडे को if I take up other work, company का क्या जाता है? Now, when a company is designing a policy to give you 5 days a week, they are not designing that policy because, again, they are not paying you for that 5 days. They are paying you for the work that they expect you to do. Now, if you are able to prove to them that I am able to do that work in 5 days, because the next 2 days I can focus on my mental health, emotional health, I am able to prevent burnouts. So I am a sustainable long term resource for you. which will be better when I work with you 5 days a week,
Mm.
right? But after that, if you say that I'm going to work with you 5 days a week, but 2 days a week I would do my own work, which then means you will still experience burnout, right? So what I'm also clarifying right now is, at times the whole concept of mental and emotional health is such that we push the entire burden on the corporate. Then it's the corporate's fault, it's the organization's fault, it's the
Right,
organization's culture.
right.
It is to the extent that the organization also needs to train the employees to understand why their mental and emotional health is important. It's not just a checkbox in the HR's to-do list. It should also not be a checkbox in the employee's to-do list.
So what we are essentially now saying is, yes, when we are saying we have to look at it strategically, but it's not just that you hold it important and then you take the steps and make a policy, but then what is the additional step? This is where you have to communicate what is mental health. Take those sessions, not just for your employees, but for yourself as well. Now, this is why, like Nitin, I mean, yes, precisely the point. I'm saying key that all of the entire chain, the organization, the employees, all of them need to kind of go through this because mental health is a new concept for us. Period. It
True.
is a new concept for us, and we don't understand it. Whatever you have heard of from about mental health, it is from some media, news, or some point of view, which isn't complete. There is no clear understanding of how this is applicable in my life. And this is why when we are, I mean, currently, Nitin, we have been moving away from corporates. Like if we interact with a corporate and we see that it's a tick in the box activity happening or being projected, we are not even spending any more time with them. We have decided that because it feels like we are ending up wasting our time, where we are coming up with, okay, you have to finish it in those much time in 45 minutes, and then we are just trying to get them to do some activities and stuff. Like, I'm like, sorry, please continue doing this with someone who does trainings like that, because we don't believe that is even a training. This is an excuse for you to sign off. If something happens in my organization, then I have, oh, we did mental health training, look, here is the signature, everyone signed off. We do not engage with such organizations itself. In fact, it's not just a uh, interview or a meeting that we have with. So currently, we have two organizations that we are on an EAP role with. First and foremost, for us, it was important to understand how seriously those organizations take these roles. We had meetings with the CEOs separately as well to understand if they are serious about it, and if they are, then to kind of work with them to understand, okay, then we have to clearly work for your sector exactly what is the challenges. We spent our discovery time, where we spent with those employees, time with those employees, to understand what sort of challenges are coming up in their life basis on the stress and things like that. It's not just dealing with stress. It's about how it looks like in my life. What are the coping mechanisms that, for example, if I work with seafarers, there are certain set of coping mechanisms that you will see observe come up as a pattern in among the people. There are certain set of challenges that are popping up: isolation, family distance, and any challenges that happen overboard, piracy, terrorism, all anything and everything like this. So there are very unique challenges that each sector has. So the organization that you're going to work with, do they have the capacity and know-how that, this is something, it's not about coming up with a very general mental health training and going and speaking about mental health. It needs to make sense to their employees. They should be able to see that the management actually does care, and their management also takes such help. So there is no stigma. So I can actually do it. And instead of going in this ambition route of always trying to make more money, if I have found a place, an organization where I know I can trust them, they are going to take care of me. I know, what my limits, my job, my everything is clear. They would want to sign up with that organization year after year. The loyalty increases, the amount of effort these employees want to put in for such organization. For example, if there is a piracy attack as well or something, the employees will be that much more understanding of the state if these actions are made for them. Like the worker force themselves, I've seen react in such a positive manner when they observe that these things are being taken care of. So A lot of these challenges that corporates are trying to work on just by throwing money at the problem, instead, which is also promoting a lot of sense of injustice among the employees, competition amongst the employees, because only money is getting thrown when you are either threatening to leave or when someone new joins from another organization. So there are a lot of tropes that are getting made as well. So identifying these tropes, not hiding behind grapevine, the mental health organization that you are employing, allowing them to engage with your employees, actually seek out what are the challenges that they are facing, so that the trainings, facilitations that can come out of it would be that much more relevant for their staff, and then helping start a EAP program. That means where if any personalized counseling, therapy, any such help is needed, the employees are able to take it. But right now, mental health programs or trainings involve either a presentation on psychological jargons, or a yoga session, or a breathing session, or a well-being session under one of these guises, where a motivational speaker, I don't even know what that means, but a motivational speaker is going to come in, throw in some emotional stories, and make the people like gung-ho about something. But let me know if
नहीं,
you're...
even if they do it consistently, at least वो तो पूरा करो. वो भी you want to do it for half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour. मतलब चलो, so between you and me, maybe we don't really, at least I would say for myself, I don't really think standard motivation programs work in the long run. They give you a boost for
I
five.
don't think they even work in the short run. I don't know what they're talking about. You watch Lagan, and you after that for 2 minutes you feel like playing a cricket. I mean, playing cricket, and everyone believes that I will hit a six after you watch Lagan. Is that how your company strategy is based on
Correct.
motivating people for 2 seconds? Oh my God.
एटलीस्ट वो भी कर रहे हो तो ढंग से कंसिस्टेंटली करो तो कि इट गिव्स यू रिजल्ट. मतलब वो भी देन डोंट डू इट वन ऑफ दैट यू आर जस्ट इनवाइटिंग वन मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर फॉर 1 hour एंड होपिंग दैट दैट 1 hour will transform your entire organization and make them motivated. Even motivation would require more sustained effort. So it what you're saying is right, that it's important for organizations to look at the entire thing from a distance to first really see why they are doing it. And there are immense benefits for the corporates if they're able to do it well. Like you mentioned earlier, the attrition rates goes down dramatically. You will notice that the performance of employees is far better. The loyalty that the employees have towards the organization is far greater, simply because if something goes wrong, if you are in crisis, rather than the employees trying to run away, you will notice them kind of coming together and helping you and supporting
Helping the
you
organization.
because of the work you have put in for them. There is just so much of advantages of this. But again, okay, so let me ask you slightly different, right? So we've been saying it should not be a checklist item. Why is it a checklist item in the first place?
It is not yet. I'm here to tell you it is not yet a checklist item as well, because government hasn't mandated it yet. Your posh has been mandated, so that has become a checklist and has become a source of employment for some people to come in. And I don't know, what have you seen a posh training? have, have you seen it in action?
No.
So I assure you, I'm not believing that these trainings are happening by standard. I don't believe that there is a committee being set up which actually has any role or is functioning or knows what to do, right? But this is being done and it is a tick in the box. Now that is a forced tick in the box, and that also is happening at such a poor level. Mental health trainings have become more of a, stand out as part of a conversation that yes, we do
Sachin,
these.
just sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry. You can continue. I'm just continuing back.
Yeah. I'm trying to say that for a lot of the organizations, talking about mental health has become more of a conversation point, and that in when organizations in a more liberal world are considered spoken of regarding mental health because of the more public conversation that is happening in the space. So yes, to be part of that dialogue, sure, HR puts out a post that we did our mental health training, and there is a photo here. That way, LinkedIn is aware that in this organization, mental health training happens. But who's doing the training? Is that person more than a psychologist? Is the person actually a trainer? Do they have any exposure to training, or is it just a presentation delivery that is happening? Where I've gone for trainings and I've been asked, सर आप वो ट्रेनिंग थोड़ा आज एक आधा एक घंटा कम कर दीजिए, थोड़ा सा जल्दी भेज देना इन लोगों को. I was like, I was about to laugh. This was a suicide gatekeeping training that I had to do, and they are like, today they are a bit busy, so can you cut the training short by 1 hour or something. मैंने बोला okay सर, इसके बाद कोई suicide ऐसा कुछ होगा नहीं, don't worry. I'm like, wow, you have said it, then I should be completely fine with that. Now imagine I had to fight with that person to say no, you can have a word with the head office, because this was a smaller unit of the bigger organization, and I had gone there. And the smaller unit HR came to me and is like, this smaller unit person, the head of this smaller unit is like, no, no, we want to get more money and this is gonna waste their time. I'm like, please talk to the head office directly. I'm not gonna interfere in the way you guys do your job.
So
You don't.
which is actually even more interesting, and that's a good point that you've brought up. That many a times the people at the top may want to incorporate some of these things into the process, but that communication from the one who's making the decision about having a mental or wanting to incorporate mental health as a part of their framework at times just doesn't circulate down to the person who is going to eventually plan the entire session for right. And it's important that communication flows from at all levels of the organization once the decision is made. So this is what I also meant by strategic, right? When you, for example, make a marketing campaign, अब सेल्स के लिए वो ऊपर से लेके नीचे तक सब जनों को बताते हो ना.
जी, बट
उन्हीं
ये
की
स्ट्रैटेजी के साथ आपको एक कैडेंस भी डेवलप करना है. यू हैव टू आल्सो डेवलप सम डे टू डे एक्टिविटी. आपने यहाँ पे एक साइन कर दिया तो अभी हो गया मेरा काम, नहीं हो सकता. एक हेड ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का उसे ये समझनी है कि me signing off on it and me taking care of my mental health doesn't mean it is going to reach my last employee.
Correct.
All the stakeholders in between, have they bought into this, or are you guys still joking amongst each other ki hai ye sab weak logo ka kaam hai, and that is the joke happening in between. Like I've gone for suicide gatekeeping trainings, right? And where how they introduce you beforehand, that this person is going to be training you in suicide prevention and gatekeeping. We have had such scenarios happening and stuff like that. So in my introduction, they shared with everyone present in the training hall that, hey, this guy's come here for, he's really good. He's been doing this for quite some time, la la la, the usual. And they're going to do a training on suicide prevention. I know none of you knew that this was a training on suicide prevention, but now that you know, we want you to know you don't have anything to be worried about. He's not saying that you guys are suicidal. He's saying that you guys are smart ones. So we will teach you this so others around you guys are good. And you know, I didn't know how to respond to that, right? But like I had to kind of again go in. Now I have to undo the work of my introduction. That I have to talk to this mid-level managers and say that no, it's not just your responsibility. I'm not here to give you guys more responsibility. It's not that these guys now going to feel I was supposed to look after the revenue. I was supposed to look after whether they are coming on time, discipline. I have to look at my boss's temper and all of those things. And now you are asking me to manage his mental health as well. Right? Without seeing, and what am I getting? So this entire conversation and stigma around is so internalized. I think from top level, that's why the strategy has to happen from top to bottom. The top has to understand how deep the impact is and what does it look like. Is there stigma even amongst educated folks? The stigma is extremely high on just even basic understanding of mental health. So until and unless we are the organization that I'm if they're not willing to have this conversation at at the founder level, we understand that this is not going to be something that is going to work, right?
In fact, so to add to this right now, so Ms. Ban, all of these people were sitting with me the other day too. They were designing what their approach for corporate wellness would be. And we made a call that when we are approaching corporates, it has to be a 1 year agreement where we will assess what is happening in your organization, plan a complete 1 year calendar, which would include X number of training programs, what will be the objectives, and so on. We will design and we will communicate that obviously. There has to be a one-to-one therapy support if required and a mobile app. In fact, one of the reasons why we started working on Meet Goals was this, that every time we thought of going into corporates, the kind of work that got to us, and I would keep thinking, what are you expecting in a 1 day, 2 day workshop? Right? And then sometimes people also said, कि अच्छा हर साल में एक कर लेंगे. But then you have to, and their problem obviously also is that you do a program with us. If you're expecting us to be able to give you employees for multiple trainings across the year and the same person multiple times, financially it doesn't suit us. So what can we do? And that is where the entire conversation came in, that all right, we need to offer something where we start with awareness, we back it up with certain programs designed specifically keeping in mind the challenges that the employees are facing. We ensure that whatever work we have done in the training program is supported through the mobile app, so that even if they can't join all training programs, there's certain things that are in place. And finally, for those who after the mobile app still feels that they require support, they require uh, someone to work with them on a one-to-one basis, then there are ICHARS trained coaches, therapists that they can work with. And that's how the entire program kind of got conceptualized. But yeah, you're right. For most organizations, it's very, very difficult to really buy into this. And also from we were speaking to a CEO of an organization, and they said, you know what? I took, I paid for 200 sessions for my employees in the last EAP that we were trying to implement, right? And I paid for it. The company got paid. Only one of my employee ever went to that
Yes,
organization.
yes.
So he says, now I am not sure. I was told take therapy sessions, gift it to your employees. I gifted it to my employees, and none of my employees actually avail those benefits. So all of these are conversations, even for corporate heads, HR, CEOs. Please just don't buy into something simply because someone is telling you to do it.
Yeah, you give them access and then your job is done. Again, it doesn't work so much.
Correct. So you have to check that the organization you are working with are willing to invest the time and effort in being able to understand what is happening with your organization, to design a program that works for you. And then you still have to be involved in it. You can't have a hands off approach that, all right, I've given
Like
paid you
I've
money, now
got
you
my
pay to have.
children in school, so I don't have to work. I don't have to think about the ethics and morals that my child picks up, because now it is the school's responsibility. You're not going to do that. You are still going to have to be involved. And if you're running an organization, exactly that is what you need to think of and consider with regards to the employees as well. I can't
Perfect.
just have a sign up and think that the world will take care of them.
So moving ahead, Sachin, though we've covered this in depth in the conversation that we've had, but if you could summarize this, how much does leadership style and workplace culture affect employment health? Specifically the leadership style.
I, honestly speaking, with the different leadership style, I've seen different styles work in different scenarios. So if different, if you have a heavy industries where you have machineries, and where you are having to work with a particular type of system, a laissez-faire system where you're going to wait for everyone to come together and make a decision, will not necessarily work. So different organizations will need to follow a different leadership style. That is, I honestly think that it is something that the leaders have to take into consideration. However, they have to understand that this is my leadership style. For example, if it is that hierarchy and things are extremely important in your particular leadership chain, you have to also then understand that there will be a challenge like fear. We cannot have a fear based system in hierarchy as well. If fear comes in, then your feedback system will suffer. You will not get accurate feedback. People will, if people are scared to tell you the truth, for example. So I need to be understanding, if whatever leadership style I'm going to be doing, are the manager leaders that I'm developing, are they catered for that? Do they have the regular skills and implements for that? Whenever any shift, any promotion needs to happen, instead of just giving them a task based training, a more human based training is extremely important. Their own mental health, how, when with new challenges, what should they be now catering more for? What are the areas they should look at, not just from a work perspective, and oh, you should buy this car is not the only advice you should be able to give, but also, okay, now your challenges are going to increase, your sense of decision making has to improve. So, and this has to be done on a consistent level. It's a whole new ball game. What are you going to do for your mental health? How are you going to sustain that? So it's about having much more holistic conversation. And for me, leadership style hasn't necessarily I mean, sure, there can be challenges that come out of a particular leadership style, but I do feel that these can be mitigated if you have reflected over it and you have put in the measures accordingly.
So, to summarize, irrespective of the leadership style that you're following, your ability to reflect upon what's working, what's not working, and being adaptable to changes that may be required to make certain things work can actually impact and affect mental health of the employees a lot more
Right.
than necessarily the specific leadership style that you're
Right. So
following.
being open for change, invest time for change management, and under change management, also consider mental health as an important component. That mental health should be an important component for change. That while these things are going to happen, how are these people going to mitigate their own mental health, their sense of time, attention, skill level, uh, attention level that I need to offer to different jobs that I'm doing. All of these things have a different impact on the person. If I'm able to take in the factor in those things, and again, it's not important necessarily to just do the research and give the answer and then strike in a policy. Make it part of your culture. How can some of these steps become more organic rather than just it's been signed off by someone? Is there an organic human element to it? Otherwise it all feels like we are all operating under AI, no?
Brilliant. And according to you, how can companies find a healthy balance between high performance and employee well-being?
Well, first you need to count count that as part of your uh, data points, right? And now I'm seeing, I've told you, I'm like worked in corporates where employee well-being is again a document that the employees are signing up, and it is reflect the person may be signing it up under duress. So are you actually looking into getting true information regarding your well-being? So organizations that have signed up with us, what they are getting is not a ready-made form. What they are getting is an anonymous form that has been shared with the employees. None of their details are going to be captured, so that they can honestly write down whatever are their current conditions, because again, it's very easy to lie on these type of documents. So when you know that anonymity, confidentiality are important in these scenarios, but you have an organization that believes, no, no, you let us know who those employees are, who are in the red zone or green zone or whatever. As a mental health organization, you have to make it understandable for the organization, to the organization, that no, there is a reason why confidentiality and anonymity matters. It's not just about legal. It is about why, if the employees know that they are not going to be covered, they'll be much more open to giving you the right information. And that when you have the right information, even if it may not fit in your what you thought the most amazing place in the planet is your company, even if you get information that tells you otherwise, you are able to use that data point, work on it, rather than putting a whitewash over it. So taking in employee well-being into consideration, but not in terms of how I can constantly keep them smiling, but rather identify what are their pain points, work on them. Instead of putting out posters, do something actively, engage with those employees. Very often these answers don't require $1 million research. The answers are right there in front of you, and most of your employees may be able to even help you in that. So working with responsible organizations who can help you connect with your employees more, I think it could be a different approach that that these companies can look into, instead of, because you don't, if you don't understand certain parts, maybe get in the professionals who can help you connect with your employees better, rather than come in and fix up a mental health plan for us, right? Help us know our employees better and work for their mental health better. I think you may be surprised as to how much helpful that exercise can be.
So again, it's this is a specialized area of work, right? Implementing a corporate wellness or an employee assistance program in an organization. As for organizations who are looking to support their employees, look for people who know what they are doing. Sit with them, talk to them, understand from them how they are planning to implement it. Because if you have to balance high performance and employee well-being, the person who you are hiring or the organization that you are taking on board to implement that project needs to surely understand this. And I understand as corporates, you may not have the skill sets or the understanding required right now, but the organization that you are bringing in, you're bringing them in because they're experts. They should very well be able to explain it to you in your language in terms of what will be the benefits of you implementing these wellness programs for your employees. So again, don't look at it as a checkbox where I've hired someone, so let them do what they have to do. Get involved in it, ask them questions. You'll be surprised. This could be the most, and I know some people would again talk about it from a profitable point of view, but I'm saying this could probably be the most profitable investment you can make in your organization. Because if you really understand this well, you will realize it's not a question of you having to create a balance between high performance and employee well-being. Employee well-being will naturally lead to high performance, and it will lead to a lot of other benefits that will further not just help you get high performance but sustain that high performance in the long run. So invest some time, invest some effort, speak to those people that you're hiring, and once you find those people, then give them the time that they require to implement it.
Yeah, because they need to spend some time with your employees and instead of making it a tick in the box activity, work with these organizations, help them connect with your employees, give them that time with your employees to see. And again, it's not that these organizations are coming to kind of find your dirty linen. That's not their intention. What they're trying to hope is trying to see patterns, trying to see common pitfalls that people may kind of have taken it on a subconscious level, but because the articulation is not happening, it just becomes one of those big elephants in the room, for lack of better term here. And these can be very easily addressed. And it's usually the awkwardness, the weirdness, the stigma that kind of comes around it that stops you from having these very helpful, meaningful engagements. And what I've seen is, if the corporate heads, they are able to cross this barrier, this awkward barrier of, okay, I will need to sit down and actually understand, and I can, in fact, if I have a conversation with this organization, I will begin to understand what are the points at which they are paying attention, and this can do me some good for long term as well. So I believe, like, if you're an organization that is trying to be functional and grow in this modern day and age, with all the new globalization and multipolarity that has come up, it is extremely important that you have to be very mindful of those individual people and times that they are attention that they are providing for you to meet your goals with the organization, and you are able to help them. They will be more functional and efficient and economical for you if you look at them as more than a number, and actually engage with them and look at making their life that much more easier. And for you to do this, it's not about giving them any monetary bonuses either. We have seen people leave high paying jobs like this, if they are, the adage that people leave with bad managers, not a poor workplace. So we kind of understand that there is a lot of human management that comes into place here, and that does not even begin if you do not start addressing the mental health. So, and taking that into consideration is my goal.
Plus, Sachin, before we end, one small thing that you had actually touched upon earlier that I would maybe bring up again
Yeah.
is the area of privacy, confidentiality for employees.
Right.
These mental health sessions, employee assistance sessions, programs, whether these are apps, one to one therapy coaching sessions, or training programs, The idea is not that you as an organizer, at least I would look at it this way. The idea is not that you as as a business owner or as a manager or as an HR professional need to understand specifically which person in the organization is saying what about the organization. That's not the point. The point is to actually be able to understand what is happening overall in the organization
Exactly.
so that you can make those policy decisions that will implement majority of the people, and then let the people that you have hired to implement the employee assistance programs to deal with the individuals, to deal with their challenges that need to be dealt with. They don't need to tell you specifically which employee said what about what manager. That's not the point of the employee assistance program or the corporate wellness program. The point is to be able to ensure that in the long run the employees don't have to say much kind of things that you would want to be worried about. And second, if the employee has a complaint, that they know that there is a mechanism in place where they can actually go and get that addressed both at an organizational level and at a personal level. So this idea that I get the names of all the people, can I know how many people, what did they discuss in the one-to-one consultation sessions? Did they complain about the boss? Were they thinking about quitting the organization? None of this from an individual specific point of view will make much of a difference to you as an organization. What would is understanding what the overall sentiment of that organization is, of the employees are, and that a good organization that is implementing the corporate wellness program will be able to help you understand. Having said that, don't stop over there. Let the corporate wellness program implementers work with those clients, work with those employees one to one in groups so that their challenges are also taken care of and addressed. And I understand at times, and this has been a question that has been asked recently, that all right, if you're saying that we are going to help our employees improve, what if our employees want to leave the organization? Right? So take it this way. If there's one employee that wants to leave your organization because their values or their understanding or their goals don't match your goals, your values, okay, that employee would not have continued with you long enough any which ways, and it would have created bigger stress for you and for others in the organization for them to continue at the same time. So even if they are going, that's probably one good thing that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. Like, why is he there if he doesn't want to be there? Why do you want someone to be working for you who doesn't want to?
Correct. Having said that, if you have a large number of people who want to leave, okay, then that gives you an understanding of what's wrong in my organization that I need to fix. And those people who want to leave you will leave you sooner or later, right? You may as well take this opportunity to fix what is not working in the organization and ensure that in
And,
future
and
people
fixing
want to stay with
will
you.
not and fixing will not even begin till you're ready to see the hole in your bucket. If you're constantly just wanting to show that I have the best bucket here and the best colored bucket here and all that, and there's a big hole there, and you're trying to do anything and everything to distract people from looking at that, you're going to, I mean, this is a plan to fail, right? And me as a person who believes we run an ethical mental health organization, we will not want to work with you if you come to us and we understand that this is what is happening. So, and that is why, Nitin, I'm like, I'm not even we used to, at the start, we used to be really keen on going behind organizations and talking to them, but we realized in most of our conversations the seriousness very rarely kind of comes up. So we have stopped looking at corporates so much. Even if when people have heard word of mouth and have come to us specifically, that is when we kind of connect and have a more open conversation with them, because we see that, okay, you have come in because you have certain needs and you have been recommended by, because you have asked certain questions about it, which makes sense. So then when you have come to us, then we have to talk about it. Okay, you're here because you care about the well-being of your employees, not because you want a well-being plan for your organization, right? There's a big difference that we kind of look for. And if well-being of your employees is what you're looking at, then you can't just look at, let's keep them looking at a positive sun. No, you have to help them look at what are their current realities that they're facing in their current realities, what are the challenges in them. You can't just stop looking at them or avoiding these challenges. Help your employees also look at their challenges. Help them see what are the different steps they can take to work on these challenges. I don't have a challenge is not positive mental health as well. So
Perfect, super. And just before we end now, Sachin, if you could give a brief understanding of the kind of corporate offerings you have. So if anyone is out there who is an HR or who is CEO who's looking at implementing some of these things in their organization, what can they approach you for?
So again, we do not believe in having a one size fits all approach. Whichever organization at whatever strength they may have, we try to first understand their requirements. What are their essential goals? It's not just about sending counselors as an EAP to a person, because we don't believe it will work. Across the world, the usage of EAP is less than 2%, right? So we are not just looking at getting organizations to sign up and just give us free money every month, and there is nobody utilizing our counselors. So that is the last thing that we are kind of looking for. If you're just seeking that, then we are not so interested. What we try to do is have an understanding with them. Are they open to us having a conversation and a day in their with their employees to understand what are the day-to-day challenges and things that they come up with? How much is the level of confidentiality and anonymity that they're open to, and do they understand the importance of these things? So once we are clear that the organization understands that these are the core principles, that if you're going to address mental health, these things are important, then we are able to offer them even from creating a culture on it. So right, we are able to offer services right from WhatsApp level to creatives to help creating an environment of or a culture that promotes mental health other than just poster. How can we take that conversation even to the employee and their partners and families? So depending on how involved and engaged the organization is, we are able to offer solutions at that high level as well. So again, it's pretty much up to the organization and their requirement.
Perfect. And as far as Meet Goals is concerned, just to give you an overview of, for those of you who may be interested, uh, a couple of things that we have decided for Meet Goals. One, there are three parts of the offerings that we have. There's the training program, there's the mobile app, and then there's the one-to-one sessions. When we are working with organizations right now, our approach is to request them to have at least a 1 year package that includes all three,
Yeah.
of which the one-to-one sessions can be paid on actuals, depending upon how much the clients, how many employees of yours are seeking help. But the mobile app and training programs become more or less mandatory. How many training programs would depend upon us actually sitting and having a conversation with you, understanding what your team size is, what are the challenges you're facing, what do we need to cover and address in those uh, training programs. So there would be so while I'm saying there's a combination of training programs, mobile apps. The mobile app is consistent, but that actually includes more or less most things that organizations will struggle with, as
Hmm.
far as the employees will struggle with from a sustenance point of view, right? The actual trainings are designed more based on the conversations that we have, the understanding that we have about the challenges you're facing. We can help you, like Sachin said earlier, implement certain policy frameworks if required. If we feel that we are not best equipped in a particular scenario, we will refer you to someone, or we will figure out how we can actually implement that for you. Luckily, because of the kind of work that we do, we are connected by with some really nice, interesting people who are very skilled at the work that they do. So, if we are not skilled at a particular thing, we will always be able to bring in the right person to be able to work and achieve the outcome that we are working with. Uh, Having said that, we do uh, say this, that before we begin our corporate wellness programs with an organization, we also sit with them to understand what are the tangible, observable indicators that the corporate wellness program is working for them. Because while we are telling you that you need to implement this for XYZ reason, and that you need to be involved in it so that you can see the benefits of it, if I'm implementing a program with you, I also need to have checkpoints in my mind to know whether what I'm doing is working for you or not. So, as an organization, we would sit with you, we would understand what those indicators are that work for you and that also work for the philosophies and the principles that we follow. right? And then at the end of the year, we sit back and we look at what those indicators are, what the results are, before we decide to go ahead with the next year's plan. So it's, I know, like Sachin mentioned earlier, this is very new for most organizations. Even those organizations who are running corporate wellness programs for years, uh, what it is still kind of a box that is slightly slowly and gradually
Most
opening
of
up.
the most of the EAP systems that I have come across, Nitin, it's usually MBBS doctors on the other end. So from a mental health from a mental health perspective, these are the simplest things that we are kind of doing wrong, right? We because we have not come out, oh, it's an MBBS doctor, obviously they know how to take care of the mental health of the other person.
So not just that, Sachin. Actually, that's interesting. This is one of the reasons why we changed our pitch from EAP to corporate wellness programs.
Hmm.
Because I looked at employee assistance programs, and I looked at the market. We spoke about the two HRs and different organization heads. For them, employee assistance program would include अच्छा medical insurance है क्या? अच्छा, can we have doctors who can come on board, do blood checkup and all of those checkups? Um, can we have a lawyer on board who will assist the employees in certain cases? So for them, employee assistance is such a broad word that in that wellness doesn't even take any component. So we changed it. We said, all right, we don't want to call it EAP. We want to call it corporate wellness programs, specifically focused on employee mental, emotional, and behavioral wellness.
परफेक्ट। एंड मैंने चैलेंज ये देखा है, जैसे ही आप कॉर्पोरेट वेलनेस बोलोगे तो भंगड़ा चाहिए इनको, फिर उसके बाद आपने मस्ती करनी है। वेलनेस में कुछ भी हम गंदा नहीं देखेंगे, कुछ भी हम बुरा नहीं देखेंगे, कोई भी चैलेंजेस नहीं देखेंगे। वेलनेस मतलब हमें सिर्फ पॉजिटिविटी की तरफ देखना, वो भी एक चैलेंज मैंने देखा है। All the best in meet goals as well. I'm sure you have come up with a very robust plan, and I'm hoping that organizations who are serious about taking care of the well-being of their employees first be aware that this is something that can happen. It's not just a theoretical exercise that people are yapping about. This is something that if you actually pay attention to, can be actually, with the right professionals, these can be taken care of. And you can actually have tangible results that you can plan with that organization as well. So, again, with ICHARS and the Connect Hub, we are hoping we are able to lead some level of mental health revolution in the country as well. So, let's see.
Super. So thank you, Sachin, for joining us. This was really interesting. Like always, we will meet
Thank
next
you.
session for another conversation. And for those of you who are watching us or who will watch us later, if you have any questions about corporate wellness, about how the programs can be implemented, please leave a comment, tag us, tag Connect Her, and I'm sure we would be more than happy to address any queries or questions that you may have. Even if you don't reach out to us, if you're working in a corporate, please go and speak to your manager and help them understand why corporate wellness programs or employee assistance programs are important. And if you are a manager, HR, CEO, then take the next step, get a bit more involved in the mental emotional wellness of your employees, and you will see that magic can happen. I don't like using the word magic so much, but still,
But
magic
if
can
you
happen.
don't know anything about the subject, it feels like magic, right? So yes, right now, Nitin, you are saying the right thing. Magic can actually happen, but you don't have to keep it at a magical level. You can understand these concepts and help yourself too. So thank you so much for having me over, Nitin, as always.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Good night, everyone.